So did Dargis.
Oh, and that thing all the way up.
There's not even that much stuff at Dargits. I mean, it's, a basketball court and
And so I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is.
I don't even know what to consider this. This is just
Here? I have this one and the one on my foot.
here.
Tattoos are fun.
It took me 20 years to decide what I wanted on this one. You have
I got way just drop it by any day. Yeah, any day. I knew that.
My great-grandfather was, well, one of my great-grandfathers was a stowaway, and they found, out of the port of Hamburg, Czech, and he was found somewhere in the Atlantic and had to use his salesman skills to keep them from saying he was going to stay in the middle of the Atlantic. But he was really short, like 5'2", and apparently found some really creative ways to stow away and board. So yeah.
They have an uncle.
See you there. I saw her.
Second down uncle.
I was the last one.
He was attorney.
Wow.
I got the revision, yeah.
He was second in charge as the first director of information. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's good. You're going to say he was Irish mob, you know? I'm just old enough to remember, like, all of the stories about, you know, the IRA and all the underground IRA back in the day.
Oh, is that Protestant versus Catholic?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Belfast. You know, I'm only a little Irish, but my kids are about equal Irish as me because they got it from both sides of the family. So that's like a thing when we were in Ireland was, you know, like, you know, there's only like 3.1 million Irish citizens, but there's something like 190 million Americans.
you got all the stuff.
People in the Americas that can trace.
You never know.
They're like, we did a really good job of exporting ourselves. They're like, everybody's Irish.
I did that whole DNA.
Yeah. Back 99%. Yeah, you go to the trace that.
See, my uncle, he was a big around the Irish Catholic family, and he was always like really dark. He did that, and his 50% Spanish.
I liked it better when it showed the seconds.
We're like, oh, now we know you're dark.
It must be like a setting or something. Well, I mean, it did it that one time. So.
Yeah, his parents.
I have to write time on it right now, Jason. There for a while, it was January 1st every time I came in here.
Talking accent. They were second generation, but they've always been in it.
Call meeting order.
Kind of perpetuated.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Fry,
Present.
Keating,
Present.
Snellings,
Present.
Bikeman, Garacki,
Present.
Price,
Present.
Barons,
Here.
Crum.
Here.
8-0.
Okay. All right, first up, we have the approval of the minutes from the meeting on March 13th.
Move to approve regular minutes, March 13th, 2023 is written.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion, changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
8-0.
Yep, 8-0. All right, next we have 5-minute public comment.
15 for those who are listening.
Well, but I usually do whoever wants, I usually do the 5 minutes first. Karen? Hello?
Just so you know, we're not supposed to be doing that stuff out at the meeting, Karen. You know that?
No, it isn't.
I know,
How you doing?
I know the
No, you don't.
Not,
zoning crew is not in favor.
Mr. McNeish, do I not have the right to name
I
the
think it's fair
Please
and
go back to the
reasonable.
podium and make your presentation, please. Is that okay, Mr. Mayor?
That's fine.
Yes.
Good evening. I'm Karen Hughes, and I live in Ward 2 in Marysville, Kansas. The proposed text amendment from the Planning Commission's February 9th hearing is on tonight's agenda. Have any of you read the City of Marysville Unified Land Code Development? It's not the easiest thing to read. Numerous articles and sections refer to other articles and sections, which makes the meaning of words and terms vitally important. So much so that Section 20-1 of Article 20 is entirely dedicated to definition of terms. I gave you a short list of 3 terms that are critical in understanding the Planning Commission's proposed text amendment. The proposed text amendment lists 14 proposed changes to the ULDC by simply adding intermodal containers to the list of uses for land. Uses is the 3rd term on your list that I gave you. The proposed text amendment also adds in Article 20 that containers are only to be used as accessory buildings. That's the 1st term on your list. As you can see, according to the definitions of the ULDC, land uses and accessory buildings are not the same thing. Land uses and accessory buildings are not interchangeable in meaning or how they are regulated. There is no provision in the ULDC that provides for public hearings to review accessory buildings. What the ULDC does allow for is review is use of land. Use of land is for the purpose for which land or a building is intended, according to Article 20, Section 20-1 of the ULDC. Accessory buildings are subordinate to the main building, according to Article 20, Section 20-1 of the ULDC. The proposed text amendment is defining intermodal containers as accessory buildings. Because by definition, intermodal containers are accessory buildings, that is how you would have to regulate them. You cannot regulate them as land use because they do not meet the criteria or the definition of land use. It's that simple. You cannot ignore the ULDC definitions. Definitions are paramount to the entire ability to regulate zoning in Marysville. This proposed text amendment is misapplying the meaning of land use to also include accessory buildings. This is clearly in conflict with the City of Marysville Unified Land Development Code. As council members, you have an obligation to know what it is that you are voting on before you vote. The City Council has an obligation to regulate intermodal containers. The issue was brought to the council years ago. Marysville residents have overwhelmingly indicated that they do not want railroad shipping containers in residential zones in Marysville. You have an obligation to study the issue. A number of cities in Kansas have written ordinances regulating intermodal containers. You do not have to change the ULDC. Make it simple. Write an ordinance that regulates which zones would allow placement and which zones would not allow placement. The proposed text amendment is not the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else here for 5-minute public comment? And I'd just like to state before we get started that you're supposed to address the council as an entire body. If a council member or me gets a question posed to them, it's only fair for them to be allowed to respond and to not be in trouble for interrupting. So I just wanted to clear that up.
The 15 minutes respond and start it, or?
If you direct a question as a council member, I think it's only fair that they would get to respond, and that's coming out of your time, I would say. All right, first up we have Steve Prell, Country Club Lake.
Steve Prell, 1042 Pony Express Highway, Marysville, Ward Number 1. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council and of the community. Once again, I've requested time to present information in regards to the Country Club Lake. I intend to keep this short and simple. First, we the Prells ask the council members not to vote for condemnation and not exercise the use of eminent domain on our properties. The Prells and Schraders have done nothing wrong. Speaking on behalf of both the Prells and the Schraders, we purchased 2 unique lakeside properties with acreage going into the Country Club Lake. We've worked very hard throughout the years to make it possible to purchase our homes. We too wish to live the American dream of owning our homes and properties. We too wish to maintain control over our properties, just as every one of you on the council and every one of you in the community want for your properties. These are our properties. We pay the taxes, we pay the mortgages, and we pay the insurance on them. The security and safety of our families are paramount to us. The lake is our backyard. Secondly, we ask the council members and you, the community, to imagine how this nightmare has affected our lives since July. We've lost countless hours of sleep. We've suffered depression, anxiety, anger, and disbelief. We know that this situation has affected our health, our well-being, and finances. We ask that you put yourselves in our shoes. How would you feel? In addition, we ask, what would you do or say if you were in our shoes? Third, if the city pursues eminent domain as the previous ordinance reads, for public park and recreational purposes, our lake property values will significantly decline because of the loss of our acreage and the loss of the control who is in our backyards. Again, we ask that you put yourself in our shoes. How would you feel and what would you do? Fourth, we've learned through this process that the council members only receive information through the packets presented to City Hall, which are then added to the meeting agenda. So far, you've only heard the verbal information from both sides on the lake nightmare. We've decided to present the council and the community with details in black and white so that you can all know details from both sides, including the city's team of attorneys as well as our attorney. It is good, as well as should be required, for the council members and the community to be informed before making such claims and potentially voting on resolutions. Fifth, we've been told that the council members could not talk to us about the lake matters. We're not sure who gave this legal counsel, but we've been given legal counsel stating that the council members should be talking to us so that they can get the facts. This situation's not about the Prells and the Schraders against the city council members. This is about the Prells and Schraders against whoever's pushing for eminent domain. Now let's repeat that. This is not the Prells and the Schraders against the city council members. It's about the Prells and Schraders against whoever's pushing for eminent domain. You, the council members, are the panel to judge what is morally and fair. What is fair and morally correct. Sixth, we wish to reiterate that if you, the council, do vote on a resolution or an ordinance that is worded as the previous ordinance, you will in fact be voting for eminent domain. Let's repeat that. If you vote for the resolution worded as the previous ordinance, you will be voting for eminent domain. The way that the previous ordinance was worded states that if you wish to vote for a declaratory judgment and petition in quiet title, and if that does not work in the city's favor, in the alternative, the city of Marysville shall proceed to exercise the power of eminent domain to acquire the real estate. Folks, there will be no second vote on eminent domain. Are you going to start down that slippery slope of eminent domain? Is that truly what the community wants? Maybe, if you do wish to proceed, you should vote on two separate issues. One vote for petition in the quiet title, and a separate vote for eminent domain. Then the community will truly know who is in favor of eminent domain. Once again, we ask that you do not vote for condemnation and eminent domain on our properties. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Chris Schrader.
Good evening. Chris Schrader, 1040 Pony Express Highway, Ward 1. Mr. Mayor, in light of what happened last week, could you please set the timer that you have? I do want to get my full time.
Well, that's good.
Thank you. Just a few points from the last meeting, since it wasn't recorded or live, several people weren't present. One is that some of you keep putting information out that isn't accurate. One is the city attorney stated that my land is clearly the city's property. Again, if that's the case, is the city behind on back taxes for 80 plus years? I say no, they're not, because it's never even been the city's property. As a matter of fact, the road that the city is claiming makes it their property was never even in the city. As a matter of fact, when the lake was put in, the property was just in the county, not even annexed into the city yet. So I don't know how they're claiming that the road was theirs. It wasn't even annexed in until the late 90s, I believe. And then this agreement from Joanne Walcott from 1988 that the city had signed. What is the city doing signing an agreement from 1988 for county property? That's another good question. If it wasn't even annexed into the city in 1988, why is the city even trying to sign an agreement with the previous property owners? I suggest that maybe the city council do some research and find out that. And I'll bring this up again. We've been paying the taxes and insurance, not the city. So it's clearly not the city's land. If it was, you would be paying for it. If it's clearly the city's property, why did the city attorney draw up contracts to sell this said land? Pretty fishy if you ask me. Why did the city attorney not bring this up in the past two plats that were done very recently? Two plats signed by the city attorney at the time. And not to mention, the land being the city's, it wasn't brought up because it's not the city's and it never was. If it was the city's, why did the cities use taxpayer money to buy an easement from the previous landowner in the exact spot that you're claiming you own? It just doesn't make any sense. Everything you guys are saying makes no sense. Nothing backs it up. In the meeting minutes, you voted to put your lawyer's opinion in the paper. It stated, and I quote from the minutes, John McNish, use and access to the lake is subject to a contract between the city and the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks, which states the contract can be terminated if there is restriction of public access to said land. This we have already proven to be false. You don't need our land. The Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks, Eli, stated, you don't need our land. We can build a 40-foot wall. He'll still be in a contract with the city. So that is false. It is wrong. It's a lie. Everything the city attorney has brought forth has been debunked by us and our attorney. Every avenue the city has taken to say it proves that it's their land has been proven wrong. So when do you guys finally say the truth and that it's our land, not yours, and let us control what we legally purchased, maintain, pay for? As for the city attorney's resolution, I'm just commenting on Steve again. If you vote for the resolution as it was read, you're voting for eminent domain because it says quiet title or eminent domain. I want you to understand that because I think it's a sneaky little trick that somebody's put together so you don't realize that that's what's happening. If you vote yes on that resolution, you're voting for eminent domain because quiet title will not work. And you won't get to say no if the quiet title doesn't work. So if you really want to do quiet title and waste more taxpayer money, go ahead and do it. I can't stop that. But vote on two separate issues. Vote on quiet title and then come back when you lose and revisit eminent domain. I think that's the proper way to do it. If you don't do that, the people pushing for this eminent domain, they're taking your voice away, they're taking away your ability to determine the route you want this to take. So please don't vote for that resolution if it's worded together. You cannot do that because you're taking your own power away to stop it. We were also told that you guys would meet with us. Well, it's been 2 weeks. The mayor himself even put on Facebook that, yeah, we agreed to a meeting, but 2 weeks later to no avail. No meeting, no time, no call. We did invite every city council member to our property. Every last one of you. 2 of you showed up. 2 of you showed up, and we're just shocked by all the information that we provided on the agenda. Tons of information proving what we said is true. Information that wasn't shared in your executive sessions. Information that you guys have never seen before. Emails from your attorney to our attorney. Nobody has seen that on the city council. Why is that? Pretty strange. Sounds like somebody's trying to hide something, so you go vote on something that you don't know anything about. But that's okay. We provided the information to everyone now. The community and the entire city council now has that information. That we took the time to research and pay for and do everything else to get it in front of you. So please do your due diligence and read it. Read everything that you've been missing and not what you've just been told by a few people. This land is ours, not yours. I just wish you could drop it and let it be. Both of these owners of these homes are business owners. We bring revenue to the city as well. It's not like we're asking for a whole lot. We bought the land. If people want to fish, come knock on my door. You can fish. But the first time you throw your trash and disrespect it, you're not coming back. It's simple. That's what any one of you would do with your own property. Any one of you. One more fact. I've lived here for over 2 years. And the mayor has been fighting very hard to take our land. I've never seen him throw his pole in the lake once. Not once. I have, however, seen him throw his seine net and cast out and take the bait fish out, which is fine. It's no problem with that. But if he's so worried about this lake, why is he taking the bait fish, which feed the fish in this lake that's so important to future generations and to the children? I ask you that. If it's so important, why is he doing that? In closing, I say, go for quiet title if that's what you want to do. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but you have the power to do that. But don't vote for them together in a resolution. Make the city attorney draw up resolutions that are separate, so you have a voice and you have the power to say no to things that you want to say no to, and yes to the things you want to say yes to. One more thing. I also found out that swimming is actually legal in the lake, but you have no swimming signs put up. Another thing that doesn't make any sense about what's going on at the lake. I just wish you guys could get your stuff together. Be professional, do your jobs, be a governing body with integrity. Because if this is gonna continue, I very may well run for city council or mayor myself and bring some integrity back to this governing body. Thank you for your
I have a
time.
question. I got a text message, and I want to know how you got my phone number. It's not public.
I didn't text you.
Valerie did, so Mr. Prell, how'd your wife get my phone number?
I didn't text you.
Huh?
I don't know,
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope.
I'd just like to state for the record, I have fished at the lake last year a few times. I was out there 4th of July in the boat with my nephew. He caught about a 12-pound catfish, a nice fish that day. I think what's getting lost here, and I keep hearing this argument that the city thinks that they own the land, or the city thinks they've always owned the land. The argument is not that the city thinks it owns the land. The argument is that the public has accessed that land as if it was public property and utilized it for public use of a fishing lake from at least 1935 into the mid-90s at least, when that road was shut down for the highway. For like 70 years, and then
As if it was public, as if it was
they
public.
treated it like it was public land.
They treated it, it's been proven it's not, so now they don't need to treat it like that.
They've treated it like that
But
for
it's not anymore, so they
90
don't
years.
need to treat
It was for 90, and it hasn't been, well, it has, you've argued that it's not for 2. So which takes precedence, 90 years or 2 years?
Well,
Is the argument.
Which is filed legally correctly.
the grass was so tall you couldn't fish.
People fished back there. I mean, I fish a lot of places with tall grass. It's not,
Okay,
usually
the
my
point is,
places I fished aren't usually
do
mowed.
you have proof it's your property? No.
We've never said it was our property. We've said that the public utilized it.
You just said it was your property.
This is very
I said
clearly
that
the city's property.
public.
John McNish said that in your meeting minutes.
Okay. We'll just agree to
Or
disagree.
evidence.
We have quite a stack of information here too, if you want to go through it. I know some of the stuff in there, I think that you've gotten from your attorney.
Has the city council been given that information?
They can look through it anytime they want. A lot of it is every time you guys bring up something, then we've got to research it and find out whether it's true or not. Because a lot of accusations get thrown out there. One of them was that the previous landowners were paid for their easement. We can find no record that ever anybody was paid for an easement out there.
We'd be happy to give that to you if you'd like. It was $7,000.
They were not paid.
If you need that information, I'll be happy to provide it to you.
They were assessed $7,000, I believe, as part of that sewer project. They did not get paid $7,000. You typically don't pay for an easement because an easement, you're bringing people a road or a water line, sewer lines, infrastructure, things they need, gas lines for that property. You don't typically pay somebody. If you paid somebody for an easement to bring a sewer line for their house for a sewer project, then you'd have to turn around and assess them for whatever you paid them for the property. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense to do that.
Do you have papers showing it's yours? Did you legally purchase it? No.
The lake?
And when we go in front of judges, they're gonna ask you, is
Like
it
I'm saying,
legally yours?
the
No.
argument is that the residents around Marysville treated that as if it was a public lake for 90 years.
If they want to fish, they can knock on my door now. Just like if I
Can
want
they?
to go in your yard and barbecue.
That's like saying murder used to be legal for 9 years, so let's just make it legal again, because people treated it as if it's cool. Like what? That's not logical. You understand
Okay.
that, right?
I think we can agree to disagree.
Move on.
We'll move on. Okay. Prom request. Cole Nolte and Matty Cap Senior, class representatives. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
All right.
So I'm Cole Nolte, and this is Matty Cap, and our prom is going to be here Saturday, April 22nd. And we were just wanting to, I put in a request in. The plan is we would like to have the 7th Street corridor blocked off because we're planning on having the promenade west of the wagon wheel and then the pictures on the bricks at 7:30. And then we also would like Main Street from the courthouse to the wagon wheel to be blocked off at 8:15 or like by 8 because the senior walk is going to be at 8:15 that night. And we would also like just, like police protection and like barricades, like similar to what happened last year. And then we also have, I asked the class, and they are planning on people bringing muscle cars, pickup trucks. Guy's gonna bring a moped, and then there is someone that's gonna bring a golf cart as well. And then no one said anything about like four-wheelers, motorcycles, tractors, or side-by-sides, but there could be someone that didn't get my message about requests, and they still could bring some, so I thought I'd just let you know. So, I would just like to see if you would like to approve that.
I don't know, guys.
He's pretty thorough. Or narrow that back.
Golf carts? No, I didn't think we let golf carts.
We've done it in the past.
You-
Only
you
for
can-
the-
It's been done in the
You
past.
can,
Specific, yeah.
for you to be, so basically, if they requesting non-street legal, that's, you can approve it, yeah.
Yeah, and they usually get to make a couple rounds and they gotta put them away.
Yep.
I'm less concerned about golf carts than mini bikes, to be honest, in this specific instance.
Bicycles.
Hey, easy. Move to approve the request.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Can you do me one favor? Will you guys talk to the chief of police and kinda
Yes, yep,
iron it out?
we sure
Okay,
can.
Perfect.
One more thing on this here, who do they need to contact to get the PA system for Promenade? That is Chamber Main Street.
But you come and sign,
To come and
you
sign
come
it.
and sign here, there's a piece of paper in here, you guys, sign off, and then after that, you go to Chamber Main Street and they have it there.
And Mr. Cook did it last year, so I think he'll probably remember, but I don't know. Is he still your sponsor?
Okay. It's Kaylin Degenhart is our senior class sponsor.
Oh, okay. So that, yeah.
So just let them know you gotta check it out, come here and then check it out there, so,
Okay.
so you have it.
Yep.
Need a vote?
It was-
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
There's first one.
Right.
Thank you.
No, he's
Thank
not
you.
done.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's
Not
not.
done.
I gotta do one more.
He's not.
Maddie's done, Cole's not.
And next we have the blue,
Halfway
gold,
done.
and chrome tractor truck show,
Yeah.
April 15th.
Yeah, so I'm the president of the Marysville FFA, and we are planning on doing the blue, gold, and chrome tractor and truck show this year. We're gonna see how it turns out, and we would like to use the city park area near the bandstand for, like, the location for the event. And we're planning on having it on Saturday, April 15th. And I would just like, the event's gonna be about, I guess I would like maybe barricades up by like 8:30 to 3 that day, 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then just so like the two streets that go on to 77, and then just roadblocks south of the city park on A Street. That's where I would like the roadblocks if that works for you guys.
Right there south of the pool.
Yep.
Just where it narrows.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, south of the city park, so people can still drive into the park.
Oh, you want it down, up where where it Y's together? Or where?
Let's see, well, it'd be further north of that. So like if you're driving from the pool, and then the city park's on your, it'd be your left, and then just, like if the city park's here, I'd just like some roadblocks just cutting it off here, so they can't drive south that day, up to the Y.
Normally, we give you the cones and you barricade it. We do not, because we're not there on Saturday, so.
That'd be fine.
you could-
That'd be easier, that'd be perfect.
We'll just have to, like, let any campers know and
That'll
stuff
be the
too.
trick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So do we have to block it in front of that, or just?
I don't know what they normally do. What do they do for, like, Mother's Day market? They
The week
put up
ahead,
signs? They put up,
They put up signs ahead that they have to be
Cause
gone.
there may be some campers in there.
Okay,
Do the same thing.
yeah.
And we
yeah.
can do that. We
Okay.
just have to know.
awesome. Yep, that'll work.
Right. Somebody make a motion?
Move to approve the request for the blue, gold, and chrome truck tractor show.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Good luck
Thank
with
you.
it.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Yep.
We've moved on from that, so. Let's see.
Yeah, April.
Yeah, we have April Swartz with Varney and Associates. Hello.
Hello again. Seems like I was just here. We were a little more prompt this year. I will say that we've never had a city ready by as quick as Cindy was ready. And we actually finished it and issued the report on February 16th, so it just took a while to get scheduled to get to a meeting. The audit went very well, and we had no adjustments that we proposed, so the numbers you're seeing tonight are the same numbers that would have been presented to you by Austin and Cindy for your December 22 report. The letter is the required governance letter, required communication with governance. It is a clean letter. If we had issues, if we had journal entries, if we had concerns, they would be in this letter, but it is a clean letter. The financials themselves, pages 1 and 2, are the auditor's part. This is our auditor's opinion, and it is a clean or unmodified opinion. As we discussed not too many months ago, you report under the KMAG model, so basically it's the cash basis, with the exception of accounts payable. So if you will turn to pages 3 and 4, this is the actual financial statement for the city of Marysville for the year ended December 31 of 2022. Down the left-hand side are all the funds that the city utilizes, and then we show the receipts and expenditures for each fund. We add back any accounts payable, which were very minimal, to come to our ending cash balance. If you look on page 4, the third from the bottom row of numbers is the city's subtotals. So you started the year with $5,753,399 in all of your funds. You collected $9.8 million. You expended $9.3 million, leaving you with $6.2 million in unencumbered cash. And then you also, we include the Marysville Public Library as a related municipal entity. They started the year with $298,000, collected $286, expended $267, leaving them with $317,625. And then down below, you can see the location of the funds. You have the bulk of your money in checking accounts in local banks. You have $1.6 million in the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool, and then Marysville Public Library has their money in local banks. We do then back out the agency funds, which are funds that don't belong to the city, of $6,552, leaving you with the $6,550,113. Again, there were no cash violations. You can see all the funds ended with positive cash, and we had no budget violations. We had no statutory violations of any kind. The next several pages are the footnotes to the financials, which I won't read to you. On page 9 is a summary of the debt for the city. You did issue one new debt issue, and that was a finance lease for your sewer vac truck of $400,000. You made the first payment already during 2022, leaving you with $362,460. So you can see you started the year with $2.2 million in debt. You issued $400,000. You made $303,000 worth of payments, leaving you with $2,359,758 in debt at the end of the year. And the interest paid was $67,478. The next page gives you the maturities or the payout of that debt over the next several years. If you'll now turn to page 15, this is where we demonstrate the city's compliance with the budget law. You can see by fund, we list the funds that are budgeted. We show you the certified budget. You will notice in the general fund, you were allowed some adjustments for budget credits, and that happens when you're reimbursed for something, so you basically get credit for that against your budget. But you can see down the right-hand column that all of the variances are in brackets, which they're all under budget. So for the grand total, the city had budget authority of $10,027,000, and you were under budget by almost $2 million. And then finally, I'm going to go through the general fund with you, and then the rest of the pages are all the other funds, and I'm not going to go through each of them. The general fund starts on page 16. It shows your revenues for the year. Your actual revenues were $2,940,000. You budgeted $2,500,000, almost $600,000, so you brought in $348,000 more than you budgeted. And then if you will, and a lot of that was your reimbursed expense. So the third from the bottom line, you can see reimbursed expenses were $161,941. The next several pages, 2 pages, are the expenditures. The general fund is your largest fund, so you have departments. So you can see your each department. And some of the line items were over budget and some were under, but the budget law applies to the fund in total. So as long as the total fund is under budget, you have no compliance issues. So you can see as you go down through each of the different departments. And then on page 18, You can see the grand total. The general fund budget was $3,068,000 after we added back those reimbursed expenses budget credits, and you spent $3,052,000, so you were under budget by $15,000. And that's the way the rest of the report is. You'll go through, all the funds are listed. Some of the funds are not budgeted, so if you will look at page, for example, page 28, this is an example of a non-budgeted fund. This is your airport revolving fund, so on those pages, you'll see only actual numbers. You did not have to have a single audit this year, so no single audit, which is good. That's less work for everyone. And then finally on page 46, I mentioned on that first page about the money that doesn't belong to the city. You can see on page 46 that $6,552 is actually the balance of money in the municipal court that belongs to others. You're holding on behalf of others, the municipal court. And then finally, page 47 is a summary of the income and expense for the Marysville Public Library. As we mentioned, it was treated as a related municipal entity, which saves the library from having to pay for their own audit. Any questions? If not, that's all I got.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure working with you.
We'll move on to Jen Sedlacek with Alliance Insurance. Jen?
Good evening. I'd just like to start out with thanking you all for allowing me to write the city's policy and hopefully continue to locally write the policy for the city. In your packet, I believe there should be 2 optional quotes. Your main difference of those 2 are going to be the deductible options for the property limit. As I'm sure all of you are aware that the cost of building material and labor has drastically increased over the last several years based on the storms that we've had come through our area. Most of the carriers are requiring higher wind and hail deductibles. So your first option, we've quoted a $5,000 all peril deductible with a $10,000 wind and hail deductible. And then your second option would be a flat $10,000 deductible. I also put on there in your sheet of attachments, our property values have increased over $3 million for the blanket limit, and over $3.5 million they're going to increase for the Kester Block building. We've got to get them back in line with building costs and the labor cost. With your deductibles, there is a common loss. So if you had a tornado come through that damaged multiple buildings and multiple vehicles, you would have the higher of the deductibles. So if your autos had a $1,000 deductible, your equipment had a $1,000 deductible, you would only have the one $10,000 deductible. So it would apply to all property, autos, or any of the equipment that we have insured. Does anybody have any questions on how that common loss deductible works? Okay. A couple other things I wanted to point out that I also put in there the dividends that the city earns. I put the last 5 years to show, it looks like we range anywhere from $17,000 to $20,000 you get back in dividends. That's based on the safety dividend with EMC. And so every year for the last 5 years, you received at least $17,000 back in dividends. Last year's, I know this is up, yes, some from last year. The annual premium last year was around $148,000. Your auto deductibles will stay the same at $1,000. Anything over $100,000 in value, your auto deductible is $3,000. None of that has changed, and any of the equipment is still $1,000. So it's just the property deductible that we really have in question that we need to determine if you would like to go with the $5,000 all peril with a $10,000 wind and hail or a flat $10,000 deductible. It looks like the difference in savings if you did the $10,000 would be around $33,000. Does anybody have any questions on that? Ideas, suggestions on the deductibles?
worth it for $3,000.
For $3,000.
Yeah, I agree.
And I did want to point out, just in losses over from the tornado, unfortunately, it looks like so far they've paid out almost 180,000 with the one tornado loss. So they do pay out, it's obviously, and wind and hail, obviously, we all know, state of Kansas, that's what we're getting hit with. And your property deductibles on your homes, I'm sure have at least a 1,500 deductible. They're really looking at increasing them. So you're thinking the 5,000?
How did the property value on the Kester house increase $3.5 million?
I'm sorry?
How did the property value on the Kester block increase by $3.5 million? There's nothing in Marysville that's worth $3.5 million.
And I understand, retail sale of it, definitely not. But rebuild cost to rebuild that Kester block, that's what they're coming up with. They've really wanted us to increase it over the last several years. We've had a lot of pushback on it. So this year, they're really wanting us to get us in line because, and maybe you wouldn't obviously rebuild it back to equal like kind, but if we're on a replacement cost policy or even an actual cash value policy, you still have to have it within a certain co-insurance. And that's what they're saying. And it's not just that block. I mean, the house and the Kester House restaurant also is in there.
Correct.
Yeah.
And is there retail space in there?
The whole block.
The whole block is the retail, yes, yeah.
You know, those are 3-story buildings and.
It take a special person to rebuild them, to match the historic value of them. It's not cheap.
Are the mics on?
I think they are, aren't they?
Yeah, we just gotta talk into them.
We'll do better, Chris.
I would probably recommend going with the 5,000, 10,000, the first one, $3,000 difference, is not much when you have to shell out the extra $5,000 anyways.
Yep.
Do you want to make a motion?
Move to do the 5,000, 10,000 property deductible for insurance with EMC.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
No. 7-1.
Thank you. And I do want to also let you guys know, obviously being right down the street, all of you, anybody is more than welcome at any time. If you have ever any questions, just make sure you always come ask. I'm always available. So that's what I like about the local business. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
Jen.
Next up, we have the zoning text amendment on intermodal containers from last meeting. Thoughts?
I think everyone knows where I stand on this issue, but I guess here's what I'm gonna put it in the broad strokes is a lot of issues in various ways have come down to property rights. And property rights, I understand, are complicated in that what you do or don't do with your property does impact your neighbors in various ways. But with reasonable restriction, emphasis on reasonable, I think almost all things should be allowed for people to do with their own property. And I also think that it's a lot easier to rally people, and this is a decade and a half, pushing on half my life on governing organizations, to say it's a lot easier to rally people against something and for something. So I think that it makes sense, despite the objections of our accessory organization, and I do appreciate their work on this, as I appreciate all volunteers and people who are on any committee in service to their community. I appreciate their efforts. I appreciate people's involvement in expressing their opinions on this, even opinions I don't agree with. But I do think we should move forward with the zoning text amendment on intermodal containers. I think we've put we've hewed a reasonable set of restrictions that don't apply to a lot of other things that maybe should have some restriction, but they don't, and they never have. I think it's bad policy and bad government to line out one specific kind of material as being problematic, where we can allow all manner of other things that I may find unsightly or others, and that may be more dangerous in my personal estimation. I think this is a reasonably well-crafted way to do this, not infallible, but nothing is, and I move to approve the zoning text amendment, allowing intermodal containers with the restrictions that we have lined out therein.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll give him the second so we can force the vote.
Okay.
It's only fair.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roll call. Any further discussion?
I have a question, and I asked this at the meeting and nobody could answer it. How many properties is this actually going to affect? Because, you know, I get you're in zone 1, you can only have whatever percentage of your property with structures. Zone 2 is whatever percent. So how many properties is this actually going to affect?
There would be a lot of people that can't fit one on their property.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm
just by the
saying. Are
time
we
you get the
talking like
setbacks
15, 20
and-
houses that could actually have this?
It's probably more
Nobody
than
can
that,
answer that
but
question.
it wouldn't be a tremendous amount, I wouldn't think.
And they would have to have an investment in it because we put in place restrictions about color and footprint. And I mean, it falls under, there's a lot of rules associated.
Yeah.
The fearful image is that these are just gonna get slapped down in every corner of town. But as a good example, I'm not sure you could have one. I know I couldn't,
I can't,
so.
because I got approved for a little tiny 10 by 12 shed in my backyard, and I have a large backyard.
Now, the 20-footers could fit probably in a lot of people. The 40-footers, no, but the 20-footers could probably fit in a lot of people's yards.
But not really, because I only got
they're-
approved in my building permit for a 10 by 12 or 12 by 14
But did
shed.
you ask how big you could go?
I did try to go bigger where the existing shed was, and I got told no.
So here's my thing too. When you put these restrictions we have about a roof and coloration and things, when the rubber hits the road, what's the difference between that and another material being used for the siding? What about the standing seam? What about, you know, press board? I think a lot of things look ugly, but also I don't own those properties. So if it's a consistent color, what do we care what the material is? That's a grumble of mine, is that we allow a lot of other materials, why don't we allow this material? In some ways, it's less prone to damage, less prone to be a projectile on a storm, less likely to have an infestation of animals, less likely to fall into ruin. It's easier to police than what we already allow.
How does it compare to the small quantities that people are putting up? And that's one thing to think about too. You know, you've seen these kits that people get and they put the little, the little hoops. I don't know.
Yeah, some of these carports that you can get, I mean, they're, to me, a lot more hazardous in that you hardly see one survive a storm. And I don't think they're particularly good looking. But again, to me, we have an issue with people having maybe too much stuff. God knows I have too much stuff. But this is a good way to obscure that, control that, keep people out of that. I mean, ideally, we'd love everyone to have a big, beautiful, or a small, beautiful Morton building or whatever, but that's not a reasonable expectation. It just isn't.
Any further thoughts? Roll call?
Fry,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Snellings,
No,
Bikeman,
I'm on the table. No,
no. Guaraki,
Yes.
Price,
No.
Barons,
No.
Thrum.
No.
So it fails.
All right.
What was the final count?
Uh-huh. What was
Final vote.
5-3.
5-3.
No, 3-5, I'm sorry.
5-1.
I always say that
Or
bad.
3-5.
No, you
3-5.
can't abstain. It has to be 3-5.
3 yes, 5 no. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, to the point of some of the community's concerns, and not to belabor this, is it something where we can revisit allowing it in certain, whereas this is wide open, allowing some businesses and industry? Because I mean,
Coming back.
as much as I'm in favor of it being obviously open, I definitely think we should look at allowing some businesses and maybe certain zoning where this is appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, that can be done.
Okay.
If council chooses to.
Well, I think you're gonna allow it in businesses or in industrial, commercial, you're gonna have to revisit it, or there's a lot of people that need to pack stuff up and leave town.
Well, that's kind of where I've been on it, is I don't see how it makes sense to say, I hate to pick on Landals, but I mean, they're a manufacturing business. I mean, and they don't keep their stuff bad, I'm not saying that, but, I mean, you have trailers, you have equipment, you have all the other things. Does it make sense to say that you can have everything else but not a storage container, because I don't like the looks of it. I mean, I don't know.
They use it for the
That
purpose
they're
of
already
Yeah,
utilizing, so.
They
Yeah,
literally
I
build
don't
equipment to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, and look, keeping stuff inside dry, it's probably looking better than if it was sitting out wherever. And it's a lot easier to move one of those in and build a building that you might not need. Maybe you just need storage for a little while.
And frankly, I think 2 of those looks better than just stacks of pallets of stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So, as far as
It
it
does,
looks good.
I think. So yeah, I mean, that's something council could, if they choose to, revisit that and tailor it a little bit more. Okay. Next thing. What are we on? Oh, Easter egg hunt. City Park on April 8th.
Move to approve the Easter egg hunt, 2-4, City Park.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Okay, next we have convention tourism and the hot air balloons. Wayne or Mandy?
Now it's Mandy.
Good evening. I'm not Wayne Cruzy, but I'm Mandy Cook, and it's nice to see you. Thank you for lending your time to me today. I am the Marysville Convention and Tourism Chair, and I submitted a letter to your packet about outlining the event that we would like to add to on July 8th. One of your council members has put together an amazing fireworks show, I hear. The Marshall County Arts Cooperative is planning a concert that they're going to have some stars here in Marysville, and we would like to add to that by hosting a hot air balloon glow on July 8th. That also does lend a possibility for some potential individual flights on Sunday morning. So our request is $15,000 in total, $10,000 for an all-inclusive fee to KC Aerosports. Amanda and Chris Sabia are the people that we talked to, and they have done multiple of these events in different places, and some of them, they even do the advertising. We're not asking them to do that, but I mean, they plan from point A to point Z, and for us, for this part of it. And then $5,000 is requested for advertising. The committee was pretty clear that they did want to try to recoup some of that. As you can see, the division from $15,000 divided by the top amount, the lowest amount. Yep, the lowest amount, sorry, 2,500 people is $6 a head. I think that's pretty reasonable for a pretty darn cool show. But we would like to have, if anyone is willing or able to put in a pot, to maybe recoup some of that money back, because we do understand that it's a bigger fee. So I'm open for questions.
Weather?
Absolutely, and the biggest reason why we didn't think October would work was for that. When Amanda and Chris met with us, if you imagine Lakeview, which is the area kind of that we're talking about, when you come west of the ball diamonds and there's that little slope, he thought that that would help protect it as well. Most winds in July would be from the south, so Hedstrom Hall will also help protect. And so the balloons would be zigzagged there in that little slope. So Is it foolproof? No. Is it better than October?
So will these be up during the fireworks show?
No, that is a great question. It's actually a 45-minute glow, so, yeah, so it'll be, they will start like at 8:45. They'll glow for 30 to 45 minutes, and then be taken down right before the fireworks start. So it's kind of, we're kind of lined up pretty closely, but they are very confident in the fact that they can make it all work. Again, they've done multiple
So
of these
they're gonna
things.
be taken down, are they gonna be folded up and put away, or are they gonna be left out?
No, they will be taken, take it up,
They
yep.
cost like $300,000.
Well, I know
Yes.
that, but, and that's why I'm asking,
Yes.
because that stuff rains
Exactly.
down all over, and
Yep, that's a
I'd hate to
great,
be responsible for replacing one of those.
exactly, that's a great question, and we did talk about that. And that's part of the reason why he even was, because the fireworks, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, they're gonna be on the east, set off on the east side of the Country Club Lake?
There'll be north of the driveway going out down to the dock.
Okay, so it is on that side. I will make sure and confirm that with them, but when I asked, like, I imagined, something like this to be set up was gonna take 2 hours, and it was gonna take a lot of time and effort, and they can set up and tear down in 15 minutes. So,
And
it's
how many balloons?
6. Mhm.
And if we do have inclement weather and the fireworks show gets canceled, we still have to pay them a fee,
Yes.
the whole 10,000?
Yeah, I mean, they're booking their time for us. Mhm.
Can we get rain insurance?
Jen laughed, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
when we did talk
Or a
about
rain
that,
date. Do they offer a rain date?
Yeah, so with the fireworks, we have a rain date, and we have until the day before to tell them that date.
Right,
Okay.
but what I'm talking about the air,
that's a good question. We didn't talk about rain date. We did talk about rain insurance, and since Jen is gone, I can't confirm this with an insurance person, but he did talk about, Chris Dabia talked about, that if it was going to be, it would have to be a lot of rain, like 2+ inches of rain to even make a difference, and if it's $2,500 for the insurance, like, he did not recommend it, is my point. I did not ask about a rain date. That is a good question. Could you tell us, make sure you let us know what the rain, do you have a planned rain date?
I'll let you know the day before.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought you meant to call it off. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
They gave us up until the day before to request a rain date.
gotcha. Yeah, that probably won't work for them, is my guess. So if you have other thoughts about that before that, let me know.
Thoughts? Somebody make a motion?
I guess one question I have, so it's $10,000 for the balloons, correct?
Mhm.
So what's the $5,000 for?
For advertising.
Advertising,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
That's a lot of advertising.
Hey, you know what? When
I'm
we
just
shoot
throwing it out
for
there.
the moon, then you can just tell us to back down a little bit, and we're gonna start high, Jeff. We're gonna shoot for the moon.
That's a negotiable figure is what you're saying?
You know what? I think that we are excited. We have been without a director for a year, and this is kind of our way to go. Marysville still has stuff going on, and obviously there's still other things that the city and other committees are doing, but this is just, this is a way for us to do something in conjunction with more awesome things. This is not standing alone, this is not by ourselves, this is just to make something better. So, yes, it's a high dollar, it is, yes, negotiable.
So with this advertising, are you advertising the fireworks?
You betcha.
And the,
Mhm. It would be all inclusive. I mean, we're not gonna advertise one thing.
I know it is. I know, that's why I'm
I
asking,
don't
but
think
yes.
advertising dollars go as far as they used to. though. Not when you're
Nothing
trying to
goes-
do different
no.
forms of media.
Yeah.
I think it sounds cool, and it's unique.
Yeah.
I think it'll get people because of that.
Here, I'll help you out. I make a motion to approve the 15,000 for the hot air balloon event and advertising.
I'll second that.
There we go.
Discussion?
We got married in a fever.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. And I'm not joking, I
We
didn't.
got married in a fever.
Oh,
I was singing to myself.
Yeah, I know you were.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
7-1.
That was a groan, Mr. Keating. Thank you very much that we're adding to your event. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
We don't have any notices and hearings. Next up, we have the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Nothing?
Why is the shipping on the lights so high? I do have to ask.
Yeah.
Normally, if you spend a lot of money, you get free shipping.
I mean, is there something that
Depends.
makes them so high?
Well, what's,
You know,
what's the weight of it?
It's 8,000 feet of lights. It's not a small amount of lights.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's
didn't
Still,
know.
the more you get, the cheaper freight shipping.
No,
True,
it's
and-
doing, it's going by weight is what it's going.
like, and the original price he gave us was $400, and with the addition of City Hall and Lee Dam Center for Fine Art and the Chamber Building, it only added $50. I mean, we're guessing $450 to $500 until the order is actually put in. We don't know for sure, but it hasn't gone up a whole ton from his initial
Okay.
thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Next, we have appropriations ordinance number 3794.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance 3794, amount of $322,551.21.
Roll call?
Fry,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Snellings,
Yes.
Bikeman,
Yes.
Garacki,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Barons,
Yes.
Rom,
Yes.
8-0.
Next, we have Austin staff reports.
All right. First thing on my list are the mill and overlay projects. Hall Brothers submitted a bid to work the 3 projects. First is 9th Street from Calhoun to Jenkins. Second is Elm Street from 3rd to 4th. And then the final is the airport hangar roads. The first 2 were presented in our workshop for the roads to be done, and then the third one was a request from one of the council meetings to get overlaid after an airport board meeting to get that taken care of. The total bid from Hall Brothers was $90,728, but you can see the price breakdown. $43,524 for 9th Street, $23,111.55 for Elm Street, and then the airport hangar roads.
This 9th Street, it looks like it's a total mill.
Yeah, one and
Not
a
an edge mill.
Yeah, 1.5 mil. Yeah, they're not doing an edge mill. They didn't propose an edge mill on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the airport hangars, $24,092.55.
On the airport hangars roads, do they have to do any prep work? Or, I mean, I know some of that area up there is not currently asphalted at all.
Right.
I think there's some rock, but whether it's enough of a base, I didn't know if this is something where, I mean, did they go, I assume
They went out and measured, and typically they do quite a bit of the work beforehand. I will have a discussion about it just to make sure they're on the
Well,
same.
yeah, I know when we had the roadway, the airport road was being redone, there was a lot of traffic
Yep.
on that back strip, and it was getting rutted, which
Yeah.
tells me that it's probably not a lot of rock.
Mhm.
And so if it's something where we need to get some more rock out there and roll it down for them to have a good surface.
Yep.
I don't want to spend as much on asphalt and then it just starts breaking up right away.
Yeah, we definitely need a good base under it.
Yeah.
Is this gonna go concurrent with our other projects starting on?
That's why I asked them as early as I could to get them on that. It would make a lot of sense. They haven't said one way or the other.
Okay, well, they're here anyway, I mean, it
Right.
just seems only right, otherwise they'll get us for another mobilization and.
Right, right.
If it does, how you prioritize this compared to the other products?
We put the other projects first.
Okay.
They were supposed to be done last year.
one of mine.
Yep. Yeah, the other projects are actually, were failing last year, so that, yeah. We're hopefully gonna get the 16th Street and the North 11th Road, taken care of first. It probably won't, if they do it all within a few days, it won't make a difference.
No.
Anyways, so as long as they do it all at the same time. If they do it efficiently, I mean, in their own efficient way. They know how to do business, so, yeah.
Need a motion to approve the proposal?
Yes, please.
Move to approve the mill and overlay projects.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0.
The second thing on my list is the water tower, clean out and inspections. And I apologize up front, when I put all the proposals together, I should have watched, I've never seen this warning come out of Adobe, but when I put the Viola, utility service contract together, it gave me a warning that, something was wrong. What it did was made all three proposals for each of the tanks, the same proposal for the 1 million gallon, tank. So I put the other two proposals on your desk, which would make the number match what was on my front sheet. So the two washouts, are $2,000, so for the two towers, where we're draining all of the water out, it's $2,000 apiece. And then just putting the remote operated vehicle, for utility services, is $1,700. So that matches that front page where I put the 5,700 for the total of their, for all inspections of the towers and the 1 million gallon storage, water tank, down by the, water plant. So that is the lowest bid, $5,700 from Utility Service, Company. We are due for inspection. The past couple times we've done a remote operated vehicle all around, for all three, the two towers and the storage tank. But it's recommended to do the drain out because, sometimes the water pressure hides deficiencies in the liner or the paint on the inside. So you drain that down so you see if there's any rust or anything, holes or anything like that. We need to have a plan to do the 1 million gallon storage tank, either next year or the year after that. Kent was saying is a little bit more tricky, with the valves and recirculating the water around it. So he wanted to put a hold on that, but we're still gonna, drop the, remote operated vehicle in there just to make sure everything's okay. So, look for a motion.
Move to approve Utility Service, Inc. for $5,700 for the water towers for cleaning and
Second.
inspection.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Next, we have the firing range.
Okay.
Hello?
Good evening, how's everybody doing this evening?
Good.
Good.
Hey, I'm here to speak to you about the firing range and what the council would like to do moving forward. I know since the day I started here, it's kind of been a talk of open the range, don't open the range. I was told that it came up last meeting, and I was asked kind of for a proposal of if it was up to me, what would I do? And so I put some of those thoughts together, here to answer any questions and just see what the general consensus is so that we can plan one way or another.
You want to present for for basically anybody who's watching what you're.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do elect to open the range, probably the easiest way that I've seen to do it is to treat it as a facility rental. So currently, if somebody wants to rent out City Hall or the fire department training room, they come in, they pay a nominal fee, takes care of upkeep, maintenance, sign an agreement, date, time, hours, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you were going to open the firing range, that would be one plausible way to do it. So somebody would come in, sign the range rules, sign a waiver of liability, reserve the range either here at City Hall or at the police department. Makes sense to do it both places. So City Hall obviously takes money already. We do not unless it's city court fees. But we could also take that acceptance and that agreement at the police department as well. And you would treat it like a facility rental. So we would not provide any staff. You would check out a key from a knock box, check out the range flag. Here's what you need to do when you show up, et cetera, et cetera. Keys and flag need to be returned to us by this time. And so I think that'd probably be the easiest way to do so while still making it enjoyable to somebody renting the range. So did I explain that well enough, or could I offer any response?
I think so. It's my understanding is this way you don't have to have a range master.
That is correct, yep. So, and the council could elect to go with the range master. There are some phenomenal range masters. I was one in 2004. I don't call myself a range master anymore. I didn't keep up with that certification. But there's some that have a range master certification that I wouldn't trust on a range with me. And so you have both of those people, and I think there's a more inherent liability when you provide a range master, because then you're telling people this person will keep you safe, versus just offering it up as a range facility. And so just for everybody that's watching, I'm not I'm not advocating to open the range, nor am I advocating against it. I'm just saying if this is what the council decides to do, here's one option to consider. And we'd just like a little heads up so we can plan accordingly as far as future range updates, things of that nature.
Do you know of anywhere else that's running their range, something like this as a rental facility?
Personally, I've never seen a city operate a range anywhere. So every range that I've ever seen operated is going to be a for-profit company who can really take on that liability, charge a fee to recoup that. So I'm not familiar with any municipality running a range, no. I'm not.
Would you rather have people renting a facility from us in that environment versus going out in the general public 2 miles from town and finding a spot to go do these type of activities?
Well, I only patrol the city of Marysville, so that doesn't affect me.
You know what I'm getting at.
I do. I see it both ways. I really see that if you open the range, you're going to incur much more wear and tear on the range. That's going to limit the police department as to what we can build and what we can establish that applies to policing but doesn't apply to the general public. So, for example, there was a school shooting today. You know, we'd like to build some kind of breaching door out at the range so we can practice entering schools, right? I would be hesitant to put that out there on a range and then open it to the public. It's counterproductive to me. We don't want that training. We don't want those tactics exposed. So I think it is counterproductive to progressing the police range. But I understand that's a council decision and not my decision. So I wanted to provide you all the facts and opinions that we had.
How long is the range? I mean, from the area that you're...
As far as shooting distance?
Yes.
So on the pistol side, it's 50 yards, and on the rifle side, it's about 72 yards.
That's not very far for a rifle sight.
It's not? No.
That's...
I was not here when it was built, so we have made substantial upgrades to the pistol side. We had those same upgrades in mind this year on the rifle side, but a lot of that kind of depends if the council is willing to or wanting to move that to public range, and that kind of alters our plans of what we need to do and not do.
I'd like to see something 250 and 300.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
That ain't gonna happen.
On the side in his deer rifle.
That ain't gonna happen.
You'd probably be shooting from the middle of 8th Road.
That's that's where I like to shoot, so.
Yeah,
You could
if you
still-
wanted that rifle range longer, I think it could get a little bit longer.
I do too. It's gonna take a lot of dirt work, but it could absolutely get longer. Yep.
I know the guy that does.
We would like, I mean, we would love to have a 100-yard setup on steel, so what we've tried to do is build a range to where the officer can go out there with the least amount of downtime. So they go out there, they take a range magazine with them, so they don't ever shoot their duty ammunition. They can pop it in, shoot steel, 100 yards, be in and out, 20 rounds, 30 rounds within 10, 12 minutes. And so you get folks to do that, every week, every other week, every month. You really build up those proficiency skills. But to do that, we need to build some platforms that are dedicated and then get some rifle-rated steel. So if you open up to the public, that kind of jaunts what we would like to do on the police side.
Would you be opposed to doing a trial?
I'm not going to avoid your question, but I'm not going to incur any liability for this.
No.
So it's a council decision.
And I'm getting at is we do a trial, and if they, lack of the right word, destroy it, misbehave, then it's over.
If when this was all getting started, a lot of people hadn't been behind it on the idea that it was gonna become a public range, I would be like, yeah, well, let's keep it nice for your guys' use. But because a lot of people understood that we were eventually going to try to get some access to it, I feel like a trial wouldn't be a bad idea.
But I think at a little bit higher cost than.
Yeah, I do
Oh,
agree
I'm
with that.
Yeah, I mean,
opposed to that.
find out whether people really wanna do it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think you have a lot of good, responsible people that will take care of it.
Okay, I asked for him to write the policy, just so you know, because I had a policy to take it to the insurance company. They won't even look at it without a written policy. So that's why we brought the policy to you. I'm not saying the insurance company will even cover it. The last time they were not interested, but we didn't have a policy written. So
So this hasn't been taken to them yet?
absolutely not, because it's not approved and we didn't know what you were gonna do. I'm not gonna say, she didn't know if her insurance company would take it, or she'd have to go look for another company, meaning Alliance.
Do we need to approve it to approach them with it, or can we approach them with it tentatively?
They asked for our policy, so I mean, we could submit it as is and see what they say, if that's what you would like to do. I just wanted to caution you
Yeah.
that the whole purpose of this was, she didn't even know she could get it through. Last time, it didn't go through. Now, if we have a policy, it may and it may not. That is a huge liability on insurance, and not all companies will cover.
One thing I would really caution you about is approving a public range with no camera system. I mean, accidents happen. The last thing we want is unintentional death at the Marysville Public Range.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have no recourse to really investigate it. And so when I Google searched it, believe it or not, it said that's one of the public places to eliminate a spouse. Oh, I had an accident. I'm not saying that to make you laugh. I'm saying that that's a Google search.
Yeah.
Right?
no.
And so you're talking about a high liability area with no electricity, no bathroom, and no video surveillance. So for what that's worth.
Never mind.
No, I'm not here to swear. I'm just, I think my job is to inform you and let you all, let you all make your decision, but.
Love Google.
If you are gonna do it, I would strongly request a surveillance system out there with some electricity.
Well, that would be.
I think if we
We
can,
gotta see that cost.
I'd like to see it shopped to the insurance company.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't need to make any decision on it, but I think
They may
that's,
ask for electricity as well when.
but if
Well,
that's
no,
a,
just,
no,
we're gonna get we would get electricity, we're gonna find that cost out, especially with whatever camera you think is necessary.
You'd have to have a better resolution when we have a fire station.
And the dome.
Well, if it's,
We could
depends
also,
on where you could put the electricity.
we could also shop insurance and it gets stopped right there too.
yeah, that's why I'm thinking that's,
I mean, you could be like,
that's,
I
to
can-
me,
I can take it to her.
yeah.
Let's see what the insurance says. I mean, a lot of people are, there's a lot of interest in it. It's rural, area. We got a lot of gun enthusiasts. There's not really anywhere that they can go locally to sight in a gun or just
Like Jeff
practice.
said, I mean, it's not like people aren't finding a way to do such things, usually on public roads.
Well, yeah, not necessarily.
We're clearly,
legal
at the police
ways always.
department, the majority of us are gun fanatics. I mean, we
Yeah.
support shooting, just, there's a lot to consider when you decide to make a range public, and, without that technology piece, I'd be very, very cautious. So, these are my two firearms guys. If you have any questions, they're not just my personal bodyguards. They look tough back there, but no, they are firearms instructors for the department. I am not one any longer. So if you had any firearms related questions, I wanted them to be here tonight, but we're open to any questions.
What about archery?
We talked about archery with the school district. They were looking to bring archery to USD 364 and had initially just proposed about using the front half of the range for where the tree line is to the east. And so, I mean, archery, right now, it's against city ordinance, but if you decided to allow archery, you could certainly do it out there on the front half of that range without ever going onto the firing range. So definitely a good idea.
What do you think? Contact the insurance company and see.
I think let's do that and go from there. Thank you for putting this together.
You bet.
And all the background.
Thank you.
Absolutely. If you need anything, let us know. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Keith, you could still 0556 out there, 72 yards.
Okay, next we have the standing committee reports. First up is street. Do we have anything on street?
Do we have a timeline or plan for putting lines back on North Street from 20th Street East?
When the idea, we have a contractor, it went right along with the mill and overlay of 11th.
Okay.
So once they get the mill and overlay done, they're gonna line all
And then
of
it'll
that.
line it all. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Anything else on street?
I've received several emails and a couple in-person visits with Jayhawk, specifically 11th to 13th, to possibly getting that built back up to have a proper crown and possibly having a little bit of more rock just to give them an access out to pavement. But yeah, I drove out there the other day. It's pretty rough. So I didn't know if that was something that could be looked at a little further as far as.
We do have plans to do the maintenance on 8th Street, and Jayhawk. We had to wait for the ground to thaw
Yeah.
to move any dirt. And two, the place where we get rock from is supplying other places.
A lot
And
of
we
it.
just got enough rock to do 8th Street and part of Jayhawk. And we had to call in locates because we're going to dig down into the sides. So yes, there's a plan.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Austin, we found a new quarry to go to for rock.
Not for good stuff. I mean, yeah, we've tried a lot of quarries in the past. It's never been the greatest, and I've thought about recently maybe like trying mixing a couple quarries together just to lengthen it out. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. Just to see if we could take some of the not so good rock and do a fourth into the good rock. And do something like that, just to lengthen it out, but that's the trouble we're facing with rock.
Problem is, that's a huge commodity right now with all the infrastructure going in.
Yes.
I know exactly
I think
what it
the
is.
county's like, they got lucky and bought some,
No, there's no luck involved in that. There was a fight.
there's luck.
Big difference. No luck.
If you look at what they're paying for it out of the quarries right now, it's big money.
That was
I
a
mean,
pile
it's
that-
huge money.
I know what you're talking about, and it's a pile that we supposedly bought last year. And then somebody tried to sell it again to somebody else.
Yep.
I think the pile got sold 3 times.
Yeah.
They're moving rock day and night on it.
There's been a few quarries that have opened up new. For some reason, I think there's one down by maybe Onega.
It's a ham quarry.
That one down there is supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I think there's also one down there by the mile-long bridge by Randolph. I'll try and get you a couple names.
Yes, please. Yes.
Because I think that one's a hard rock quarry.
one other thing on street, I guess I could bring it up into parks or street. It was brought, I don't remember if I brought it to council, I know it was brought to me last year. The dust on the driveway to Lakeview that comes off of 20th Street there, that goes through the gates. It's a pretty big cloud when ball season gets going, when there's not rain. It's not a street, but it's, you know, it's a city driveway, I don't know what you want to call it. Yeah, it drops down.
Driveway in.
It's, I mean, it's not good for safety when you get down in there because you can't see kids darting out and whatnot, but also it's, people are sitting along there and there's the ball field, and if the wind's out of the northwest, then it just floats down across everybody. So I don't know if that's something where if we do any other dust control projects we can do, or if we've got any other way to kind of, I don't know, try to help with that situation. I know it looks
I
good.
can't remember if we've ever done, I think we've discussed it before, but I can't remember if we've ever approved dust control on it.
I don't think
I
we
think it's
have
been a
ever
while.
done that.
Not on that one, no.
But, and it's one of those, it's not constant, sometimes there's
Yeah.
enough rain, or people go slow, or whatever, but right now, well, it's a little better again, but it just gets so chalky that it's a mess.
We can look into that, yeah.
All right. Anything else on street? I had one, Fifth and Calhoun. You know what's going on? There was a storm drain that collapsed, or, you seen that?
Yeah,
The
it's scary
barricades there.
looking.
Well, like a couple years ago, it did that over by the, food pantry there.
Not very far away.
Yeah, it's probably the same storm
Probably.
drain system. Same thing. We had barricades for a while and it got fixed.
Looks really thin.
No fit,
The whole scary looking.
yeah, kinda, yeah.
I'll check back into that one.
I know some barricades there maybe last week or two, so. Okay, anything else on the street? Water, wastewater? No. Parks and Rec?
Yeah, I was down at the lake today and went on the dock, and the side rails are getting pretty dang loose. I mean, you can pretty well break them off if you want to. So they're getting pretty loose. And I don't know if we still have a beaver problem down there. There seems to be a lot of trees getting hacked on.
Well, maybe they're, I don't
My
know.
daughter ran over one last year. I'm right
Some of them
down there.
some of them look pretty
On the
fresh,
road.
and you can see some, I mean, and on the left side of the dock, there's probably a pat rack nest. I think we should get that out of there too, or
On where at?
pat rack, or muskrat nest.
On which side of the road?
Left side of the
North
dock.
side of the dock.
North side of the dock.
While we're talking about the lake, that is a bit of a, I've heard various things about the swimming side of things. Do we need, I mean, like, we could put up signs that don't mean anything, but it's also kind of bad policy to have signs that don't mean
We
anything.
found, where was it in the minutes, and back in, mid-2000s? Contesting, and they said the
2007.
water's getting cleaned up, but then nothing changed in regards to the no swimming.
And at one point, they put no swimming out there because they thought it would limit the liability. That was before the fishing in the state had the liability, before it was a fishing lake.
There's no ordinance against swimming.
No,
You had a bad water test.
and that's why they,
People were dumping raw sewage in it.
Yeah.
before the sewer.
But
line.
but sewage hasn't been getting dumped out there for 25 years now. I would think it would be, I don't know when the last time we tested it, but, or it was tested.
It
by the
tested
state, I
clean, and then
suppose,
they
but-
just never changed it.
I was gonna say. So, I mean, to my eye, we should either allow swimming and remove the signs, or not allow swimming and make it
Enforce it.
legal.
Yeah.
Like, we're between right now, and I did nothing like being in between to make me frustrated. Let's just pick a direction and go.
I don't know if it's enforceable.
Well, okay, so he said put an ordinance in
That's what I
place.
mean.
Yeah.
It's like we either make an ordinance saying no swimming, or we allow swimming. And, I mean, I don't think it's gonna become a real competitor to the city pool.
I wouldn't think so.
Oh, I know, I'm not
I wouldn't
supporting
want
that either.
So proposing the option, either we take the sign down or we fashion up an ordinance.
Correct.
So,
Let's make reality match.
yeah.
So which one is it? Yeah. And a
Well,
penalty?
if we,
What's
I
the
assume if we
penalty?
do, if we do remove the signs, do we need at least some sort of warning, like swimming at your own risk?
I'd probably recommend that
Probably.
one.
No lifeguard on duty?
But it doesn't
Like a
necessarily,
hotel
because
swimming
I think there's a sign out there that says something about ice fishing at your.
Yeah, well,
it says
well,
something.
the state requires us to allow people to ice fish, and but they allow us to have that cautionary,
I
ice
know,
fishing
but
sign out there.
I'm just saying that because I have a nephew that loves to ice fish, and every time he goes out there, the cops get called, every time. Somebody sees him on the road, whatever, thinks it's kids out there messing around or whatever, and every
Yeah,
time
yeah.
the cops get called out
We're
there.
a little far south for that to be normal.
Yeah.
I've never gone ice fishing with him, I don't enjoy that. I like to fish, but I'm not that dedicated.
If you're gonna allow, or at least not allow it, I would go with swim at your own risk.
I mean, I think, I know for a fact there have been people swim out there, so,
In the summertime, a lot of people float around with
Yeah.
inner tubes and stuff out there.
so I guess I say we pull down the swimming not allowed sign. I move we pull down the swimming not allowed signs and put up a swim at your own risk sign appropriate to the facility.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. There you go. Swim at your own risk.
And if you want to ice fish, have somebody bigger than you go out first.
Anything else on Parks and Rec?
The west side of the tennis courts look real good.
I haven't
And
seen it yet.
sidewalks.
Yes, they were doing a good job. They inline pulled their truck out there to pour from above versus he said the cart, they were gonna either do the cart or the truck. And they opted for the big truck to pump it over, which was pretty awesome.
A lot easier.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on Parks and Rec? Cemetery and Airport?
Any date on our kiosk?
No, he told us
Yeah.
we knew it would be after Memorial Day, though.
Date.
We were pretty sure.
I
Like I said,
figured
I
that.
mailed that check the next morning that you guys approved it, but.
Okay. Anything else on Cemetery Airport? Police and Fire? Admin and Finance? There was a convention and tourism meeting here, last week. Does anybody want to kind of elaborate on that?
It was a very good meeting.
Okay.
I thought it
Felt like
was.
it went well.
Yeah, it did. It went very well. And the committee kind of decided that we would like to meet with
MCDC.
CDC.
Right, MCDC and Chamber Main Street and Convention and Tourism all. And we want, explain to us what each group is responsible for, what each group does, so we can make sure there's no overlap before we decide on the director. Correct?
And
Yep.
that meeting was
Yeah.
supposed to be April 3rd on Monday at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
And I have contacted everyone, but I will go back and ask them to bring what they do. I didn't think about doing that.
April 3rd, 7.
Yeah, April 3rd at 7 here at City Hall.
That's what I have.
I thought it was a positive meeting.
Yeah.
Good.
Have more talks and just kind of figure out what we're going to do. Anything else on admin and finance? Moving on, then we do have an appointment for city prosecutor.
Move to approve mayor's appointment, Vander Loman, replacing Megan Borchek.
Let him have it. I'll just second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sorry.
Yes?
Are you
Are you
a aye or a nay on the
I'm
appointment?
an aye on the appointment.
Yes. 8-0.
I didn't want to just blurt it out, but
I don't think we,
Yes,
oh, we need
for
an
property
executive.
acquisition, please.
Oh, okay. Somebody,
Before we do that, I do have some good news.
There you go.
okay. We can use good news. What's good news?
About 6 months ago, the council basically came up with a plan to take down unsafe property and recoup the cost. And as we know from past experiences, that's very unusual to even come close. Well, we executed the plan. The property sold for slightly over $50,000. And I believe last week, the clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, received that money. So we received the special assessment of $35,000. Now, there's obviously more money was collected, but remember that money above goes to all the taxing jurisdictions. So our estimates came pretty close to budget, and so it was a plan that was executed, and it was successful.
And that's on the Murphy?
That's right. Yeah.
I do have one other question for the clerk. I just want to make sure on the budget, do you need, for your records, do you need a motion to approve it by the council? You're accepted?
No, because it comes with, on the tax record.
Okay.
Came on taxes.
Okay. All right, who's got the paper?
Okay. So do you want to do the personnel one at the same time, or you want them separate?
I would say if you're going to do personnel, I'd do them separate.
Okay.
I move the city council recess into executive session to discuss possible acquisition of real estate pursuant to the acquisition of real estate exemption. KSA 75-4319B6. This session will include the mayor, city council, and the city administrator. City attorney? Yeah. The open meeting will resume in the city council chamber at 8:48.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Keep that paper.
Call this meeting back to order. No binding decisions were made. We continue with the regular meeting.
I make a motion to go into executive session for personnel matters.
For, yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure I didn't want everybody being angry. I move the city council recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel, discussion on specific personnel matters, not general personnel policies, exception KSA 75-4319B1. The session will include the mayor, city council members, and city administrator.
And the attorney.
And the attorney, sorry. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at, let's do 9:10.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Call this meeting back to order. No binding decisions were made. Continue with the regular meeting.
Round table.
Round table. Right. Nothing?
Well, you know, I know it's been kind of a long meeting already, but, to the, Schrader's and Prell's point about the potentially breaking the proposed vote as far as to, separating the eminent domain possibility from the other, is there any reason or argument against breaking that into two separate votes? And the backstory of this is, I feel like we need to get off the top dead center here, because it's causing people who are and are not involved an immense amount of stress and headaches, and it's just an ongoing fire that needs to be dealt with. But is there any reason why we need to combine those? Since our attorney's here, I thought it'd probably be the time to ask.
Actually, Mr. Prell touched on it when he talked about inverse condemnation affecting the value of the whole property. If you gave up or forego the eminent domain part, you're fully subjected to the inverse condemnation values, which would be substantially more than a partial strip.
Okay. Well, however we decide to pursue it, I think, or not pursue it, however we decide to proceed, I think we need to make that decision and stop leaving it kind of an ongoing issue. So I don't know if that's something where we need to bring it back to the full council. It'd been nice to have tonight since we're all here, and that's kind of a rarity, but I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
Yeah, let's get it on the agenda for next meeting.
Be done with it.
Yep.
Okay, anything else?
That's all I got.
So, Keith?
I don't know, also, next time you're on vacation, can you maybe give a crash course on how you run all them controls so somebody knows how to run those controls, and so the meeting can be broadcast live?
We have all the instructions back there. We just gotta, basically refresh, I guess.
Nobody, yeah, we were lost.
Yeah. Okay. No foul? Parker?
No.
No? Nothing? Kevin? I don't have anything either.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?